Good morning, children. I am sitting here with you in a little piece of my garden in my yard, and I want to talk with you this morning about experiments. So I have some visual aids. Experiments are something that you may have run in science class or in a laboratory, but for our purposes this morning, an experiment for me is anything that I can learn a lesson from, and I am constantly learning lessons. So I've got a couple of visual aids here. Now, when I say experiment, some ways in which I am constantly experimenting in my life, for example, a new friendship, right? I might be meeting someone for the first time, and maybe we become really good friends, maybe we don't, but I always learn something about myself in the process. Or perhaps I run an experiment by trying a new recipe, and I'm constantly learning from my mistakes when I'm in the kitchen, right? And you can see here in front of you, you've got a little piece of my garden. One of the things I've been doing during this time that we've been spending at home is trying to learn how to be a better gardener. Now, I've got some zinnias that looked great like 2 weeks ago, but you can see they're not all looking so beautiful now. But the good news is and our good friend Carolyn from church, who is what we call a master naturalist, she is an expert gardener. She is teaching me a lot. I am learning about the type of soil I have and how much sun I need and what different kinds of plants can go in different places. So I'm constantly running experiments and learning about how I can make this garden more beautiful. I think the value of experimenting is that it reminds us that we always have more to learn. This morning's lesson from Matthew's Gospel, it seems like Jesus is talking about a sower who's not very good at what she does. She does not sow these seeds very well. However, what I think Jesus is sharing in this story is the value of experimenting, the value of learning where the different types of soil are, right? And so Jesus is offering us this reminder through something called a parable. And a parable is essentially a story that helps us to remember what Jesus wants us to remember. It's easier for our brains and our hearts to remember stories than it is just equations, right? So Jesus has this habit of telling stories so that we might remember the most important lessons he has to share with us. And the lesson I think Jesus gives us in this parable this morning is that Jesus is with us. Jesus is with us through all of the ups and downs that life has to offer. Jesus is with us when our experiments work and when they don't work. Jesus is with us when we feel joyful or sad or scared or disappointed or loved. Jesus is with us through all that life has to offer because Jesus himself has experienced all of those very same ups and downs. Children, I love hearing your stories. I would love to learn more about the experiments that you are running. So remember, there is always more to learn, and Jesus is with us through it all. Amen.